Hello, green math folks. So today we're talking about tenths and hundredths. Tenths and hundredths. We're getting into decimals. So before we do that, let's just have a quick reminder about place values. So let's say that we have the number 333. 333. And this 3 right here on the edge, how much is that 3? That 3 is just 3, right? And then how about the 3 next to it, this one right there? That one is in their tens place, so that's 30. And how much bigger is 30 than 3? Yeah, it's 10 times bigger. So if we go from 3 to 30, it gets 10 times bigger. And then how about this 3 right here? How big is that 3? What place value is it in? Yeah, it's in our it's in our hundredths place, so it's 300. And 300 is 10 times bigger than 30. So each time we go out, we get 10 times bigger. And each time we go in, we get 10 times smaller. So then our question is, what's 10 times smaller than 1? Well, let's think about it. If we have money and we have a dollar, what's less than a dollar? Yeah, cents. And so we put our decimal point right there after our ones place to show that it's smaller than 1. And then we can put a number. So the one right after our ones place is called our tenths place, And it's 10 times smaller than 1. Okay, just like 10 is 10 times bigger than 1, tenths is 10 times smaller than 1, right? Each time we move over place value, we're moving in groups of 10. So this tenths place is 10 times smaller than 1, or there are 10 tenths in 1. So we could write tenths. 1/10 is just like this, right? 1/10. We know it as a fraction. We're so good at fractions now. And that's what it looks like as a decimal. Well, that's what 0.3. That would be 3/10. Okay? And then after our tenths place is our hundredths place. So we've got tenths, hundredths. Next would be thousandths, but we're not going to do thousandths today. Okay? So each time you see one of these boxes, I want you to think of, if the whole box was filled, that would be 1. But for these, our whole box isn't filled. So for this first one, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is our part. And 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 is our whole, or 10 is our denominator. So we could write it as 5/10. Or that would be 5/10. 5/10. So let's put a 5 in our tenths place. So it would look like this, 0.5. And a trick that we can always use when we're dealing with tenths and hundredths is look at our denominator here. How many zeros do you see? There's just 1 0, right? So then when we write it as a decimal, there's going to be 1 0. Okay. But if it looked like this, if we had 6/100, then there would be 1 2 zeros. So I would need to put in 2 zeros, so 0.06. 1 2 zeros. Okay, we can also think of it as there's 1 0, so we put one number after our decimal point. There's 2 zeros, so we put 2 numbers after our decimal point. All right. So for each of these, you're going to write it as a fraction and as a decimal. So let's do 1 together. We'll do number 1. There are 1, 2 is our part. And then how many are there all together? There are 10. So we would say 2/10, or 2/10. 2/10. So let's put a 2 in our tenths place. So it should look like that. And let's double check that we got our zeros right. There's 1 0 in 10, so we need one number after our decimal point. One number there, one number there. Perfect. Okay. And then on the back, it's just going to be more of the same. Okay. Where you are counting how many parts and how many wholes, and you'll write it as a fraction and as a decimal. Okay. And then down below, it says write the fraction as a decimal. So let's look at number 7 together. It says 68 over 100, or 68 hundredths. So we know that we're going to be starting with 0 point because we're dealing with decimals. And it says 68 over 100. So we've got a 60. That sounds like our tenths place. So we'll put a 6 there, and then 68 hundredths. I'm hearing an 8 goes in my hundredths place. So it should be 68 hundredths. Let's look at number 10, because number 10 is a tricky one that can trick us. That's how tricky ones work. It is 5 over 100, or 5 hundredths. So which one would be right for this one? Should we say 0.5, or should we say 0.05 for 5 hundredths? Yeah, it's going to be this one, because we're putting the 5 in the hundredths place. Not in our tenths place, but in our hundredths place. So it will look like that one. Okay, we can always look at our zeros in our denominator to help us out. We've got 2 zeros in our denominator, so we should have 2 numbers after our decimal point. Let me make my decimal point a little darker so you can see it. So we've got 2 numbers in our, 2 zeros in our denominator, so we should have 2 numbers in our after our decimal point. Okay. Good luck as you're working on this. If you need any help, go ahead and give me a call. And if I don't hear from you, then I'll call you during our phone time, and I can help you work through it, or we'll talk about reading or history or anything else. All right. I hope you all have a great day, and I appreciate all the hard work that you all are doing. All right. Bye-bye.